Welcome to the Most High Show. My name is David. I am your host today, and we are going to have a redo and a new do, right? With our friend sitting in the decadent seat of service, Crystal. She's going to be telling us how things are going with her, and we're going to. The first time we had our episode, the audio didn't work out, so this time, we're going to do a redo of that. Some of that stuff, and then we're going to do a new do of things that she's been doing since the last time we spoke. Also, we're going to have the Mystic Moment with my brother, Reverend Christian Jansen, and this is all going to happen right after we show our cool-ass intro. Jeff!
Welcome to the Most High Show, a show about recovery, spirituality, and all that. Produced, posted, and hosted by people in recovery who have strength and hope and want to share it with you. If you or someone you love is suffering, we want you to know you are not alone. This is the Most High Show.
And hit right post.
What's going on, guys? Okay, welcome back. That was the intro, all made by my brother, Reverend Christian Jansen. I just wanted to tell you guys, if you're not familiar with the Most High Show, this is a platform where we share real stories from real people living their real lives. And and it's live. This is live, man. You dig what I'm saying? This is real life happening. Somebody is brave enough to sit and share some vulnerability in the seat of service. Again, that's going to be Crystal. But right now, we are going to go into what we call our Mystic Moment with my brother, Reverend Christian Jansen.
That's right.
What's up, bro?
Man, I love your intros there.
I was whack. It was kind of whack this time, but it'll get better as it goes along.
All right. So I have a topic.
All right.
And it wasn't whack, so
thank you.
You keep all that.
I'm just looking for, some.
It's just more narcissism.
I just need somebody to pat me on the back a little bit.
It's just more narcissism, David. All right. How things look on the outside of us depends on how things are on the inside of us. Uh-huh. As outside as inside.
Okay.
What do you think about that statement?
Can you repeat it one more time?
How things look on the outside of us depends on how things are on the inside of us. How about we don't see things as they are, we see things as we are.
I'm having a little bit of difficulty understanding that. So what comes to my mind, though, is I feel like a lot of times I can show you something, but it's not necessarily what's happening to me. Does that make sense? Is that I'm totally off topic with that? Am I? I mean,
I don't know.
I think about it like if what shows on the outside is what depends on how I feel inside. I mean, that's coming from a very, honest, outwardly expression of myself. If I can share with you what's going on inside of me and you see it on my face, that's me being totally honest with you.
Oh, yeah.
Does that make sense? Does that make sense, Crystal? Welcome to the show, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, Crystal, what do you think on what do you understand? What do you think about that quote?
So, for the longest time, I always wore a mask. So, even though I might have felt like really nasty and just depressed or anxious or whatever on the inside, like a lot of people never saw that because I didn't want them to see it.
That's kind of what I'm talking about, right?
But let me go ahead and tell you, that ugliness comes out in one form or the other. Eventually, it always will.
The reveal.
Yes.
Yeah.
It comes out in many different ways. So I believe, yes, however you're feeling on the inside is going to be portrayed on the outside.
In one way or
the other.
Yeah.
Might not necessarily be by looks, but, by your attitude, by your negativity. My husband always says I'm negative, so. I guess that's how I feel on the inside.
All right. Well,
that's somebody else's, that's subjective, man. All right. That's a subjective thing.
Okay. So let's get out the the shovel
All right.
and let's dig a little deeper.
Let's do it.
All right. So when I read that, what I think of is a quote that my sponsor tells me all the time. And the first time he said it to me, I was like, F you, bro. But he says, as on the outside, as on the inside. So when I'm pointing at all this drama in my life, right? Or if I'm looking at the dysfunction of others, or I'm looking at, my money ain't right, or this ain't, just all these external problems, right? And they're like these big mountains in my life.
Yeah.
Right? And he says, well, as outside, as inside, right? What he's saying is that means that there's some internal problem going on.
Right. No, that's cool.
Okay.
I
Right?
dig that. Yeah.
And so anytime I'm kind of like, I have a friend that we talked today, and he's been going through it, and he said, oh, things are much better now because this external thing and this external thing and this external thing all fell into place. So now things are good. And I didn't tell him because it just didn't seem like the right, because it's like finally he gets some relief.
You're doing good. I'm not gonna poop on your parade. Dude.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. But in my head, I thought, man, that's like, you're still looking outside of yourself to feel good about yourself. And for those of us who are addicts and alcoholics, right, that's the definition of addiction, right? We're looking and searching for something, some sort of chemical, right, or some sort of process to make us feel good about ourselves. And the reality is that we have the ability, the innate ability as humans, to find peace, to self-soothe in a healthy way.
Right.
Because as long as we keep thinking that the answer is outside of us, then we're still kind of like, we're still kind of running the same kind of problem.
Right. And it's I think another way to look at that too is outside and inside. It's almost like and you're talking about, all these other things outside of all these external things, these problems. So it's like your excuses of not dealing with what's really going on inside of you. You're justifying your feelings through your money. You're justifying your feelings through somebody else's doing you bad, or you're not getting, you're being wronged at your job. All these things you're giving blame to those things for your attitude, but it's most likely something internally inside of you is just that's not balanced out, not right.
Or the same thing with positive, which is even more, I think, insidious, right? The money is right, everything's going good, so then I'm good,
right?
Which is like, ancient kind of old spirituality. They thought that if you were rich, that the Lord was blessing you.
Right.
You were in God's favor because you have money. Right.
If you're in the pews with all your kids right there and you're sitting there every Sunday.
Right. You get in the Lexus RX and pull off to the Applebee's and then got to look at the check. You know what I mean? The Lord's in your life.
Amen.
But it's like still the focus on the external.
Right.
And so it's not.
It's a great way not to deal with what's really going on inside of you.
Exactly. The good things are even harder because they're good things.
Justification.
Yeah.
Well, but then when you come down off of those good things, when something bad happens, I feel like it's a wreck.
Right. Yeah, and that's a great excuse to pick up.
Yeah.
Right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lost my job, man. I had it for 15 years.
Yeah. Or it's a good reason to blame God.
Yeah.
Why, God?
Yeah.
Everything was going great. So how do you, I think, let's take this. What's some application for this?
Okay.
So I kind of said for me, right, my sponsor kind of will reflect that back to me as much as I dislike it.
Right.
Right. But I will say that the first time he said that, and he's had to say it several times after that.
Right.
But now what I notice is when I call him, I'm already seeing, oh, I got myself in this mess. I'm in this situation because I agreed to do something I didn't really want to do, or I didn't think was necessary, or it's like a little bit like what we talked about when we did the last Mystic, right? Where we invariably at some point in time stepped on the toes of our fellows and they retaliate.
Yeah.
And so the more I can own my own stuff, it gives me a little more control. But the hard thing is I have to start looking inward for the solution.
Yeah, I think. Plus, if you're looking at it like in terms of the steps, I love the format of step 4 because at the end of those columns, it's like, what's your part in it? Especially in your resentments, right? Like, I'm resentful for this person because they did this. It made me feel like this, and so in you're giving reason for this resentment, right? But at the end of it, you got to say,
what your part is.
And then, but the lead off of the resentment is like really blaming. This is why I think, I was resentful for this because they did this and I did that. And then this made me feel like this and it messed with my emotions this way. And then the end is like, that's the screwball because you're going to like, oh, then, yeah, and then I did, yeah. You have to own up to something because very few things are like, you're never, very rarely are you a total victim of circumstance. Totally. Absolutely. You know what I mean? There's something in there that you have got to own up to or something that you could have did better, differently, something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Crystal, what about you? What's the application for this concept for you?
This is a hard one for me because, and I'm going to be completely honest.
Please.
Because a lot of times I am that person who my attitude, my mentality, my outlook on everything is based off of my money, my situation, however, like how things are going around me, how, other individuals are around me. So like a lot of what's happening on the outward reflects on, how I feel inward. And that's a problem. Because a lot of times, like I said, when things start to go south, it becomes a wreck.
Yeah.
And it's like you ride this, high of like everything's going good, and then it's just like boom, it crashes because eventually something is going to go wrong. It's life, right. Whether we like it or not. But that's when my sponsor loves to point out to me, like, this is why you have to do your nightly inventory. This is why you have to,
check yourself.
Stay in check and stay in tune with what's going on inside of you every single day because, it's easy. It's easy to get caught up and busy and distracted. And because, think about it. The world we move it at such a fast pace nowadays. Everything is, just, it's chaos. So yeah, this is a good one for me because I'm like, oh man, this is me. Like I need to hear it, and I'll tell on myself. I don't care. I don't like to because I'm human and I don't want to admit my mistakes.
Well,
and
if you don't admit it, how are you going to deal with it? So that's good.
Well,
that's brave. You know what I'm saying? That's real.
One of the only ways I stay sober.
Amen. But honestly, those outside things that you just mentioned, okay, we're all would be here lying through our teeth if we said, those things didn't, if I was peaceful on the inside, those external things wouldn't affect us in a negative way, right?
Right.
Your money, man, come on, dude. Right? Your livelihood, your responsibilities, the way you like things to go and it's not going that way, those all have a definite negative impact on your lives. But, thinking about, outside, inside, I think the way you heal from that, like through admittance too, and like accountability, but all those things come from the inside. You know what I mean? You being able to say, hey, these things really affect me, man, in a negative way. And it's really hard for me to go about my day in a positive manner because these outside things really affect me negatively. Right. That is a way of inwardly healing from these outside issues that you have. Right. Admitting it, being accountable, talking about it and things of that nature.
Right.
So that's awesome.
Yeah.
And I like what she said, reminding me about the nightly inventory. because then you're not carrying.
Step 10, baby, for those who don't know.
You're not carrying things from day to day, hopefully, right? Because that's when it can get worse. And I think that, like, there's variant degrees to which these things can affect us, right? Like to the degree that I would be stressed out about money, you know, a year ago.
Right. Yeah.
To the now, right, is much different. There's still an internal angst and some things going on, right? And I still might need to talk to a couple people about it.
Sure.
But the level of flipping out is not as dramatic as it was.
Absolutely.
Because it was dramatic, boy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, everybody knew when the money was low in the house because daddy ain't right. You know what I mean? I'm not high.
My face,
but boy,
just
I
don't-
might well be high because I'm acting a fucking fool. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
No, I get it.
I'm
yeah.
that person now. So we'll go back in a year from now and we'll see if I'm like you.
No, that's a good thing though, because it is forever growth. I mean, there is a constant growth, and there is a constant like understanding of your insides, and like like that's why this topic is brought up, right? Because this is all a part of us learning, through communication, through fellowship, through whatever you call this, whatever you want to call it. It's like we're vibing off each other right now, and we're where I come from, we call it building. We're building right now. You know what I'm saying? We're learning, and that's how you heal, man. Through this type of conversation.
Right.
Yeah, that's a great moment, brother.
That's the mystic moment.
Thank you, Crystal. That was an awesome mystic moment. Now, guys, what we're gonna do is go to what they call it. We're gonna pay the bills with our own stuff from the Most High Show.
Why
Jeff, please.
Media? Because I don't have the answers. Other people do. And learning from the experiences, the stories, the perspectives, seeing people who've been through the darkest of circumstances and then have come out of it on the other side and have lived extremely exciting, fulfilling lives and tapped into a way of being and a way of living, but it's actually real and obtainable. That's why.
We packed up to tell the story of a young lady who lost her daughter.
So there's a extremely high correlation between suicide, mental illness, and substance abuse.
Come on the ground. Come on the ground. Sir.
I think as of this year, there's about 14 million people in America who have a co-occurring disorder, and a little more than 7% of them seek help for it.
In my addiction, I felt like I was better off dead.
I'm here to talk about my daughter, Megan, who committed suicide when she was 28.
There's enough hope in the people that do recover to where I keep going and keep showing up at places where I'm needed.
Ain't no high like the Most High. Ain't no high. Ain't no high like the Most High. Ain't no high. Holla if you need some things like love and change. I'm not talking coins and things or diamond rings. Everybody wants some change, but don't nobody wanna do nothing till the pain they can't stomach. And they told me that I believed them, so I gave them to the. Everybody thought that I was tripping, saying that I be acting different. Ain't no high like the Most High. Ain't no high like the Most High. Ain't no high like the Most High. Ain't no high. Ain't no high like the Most High.
What's going on, guys? What's going on? Welcome back, man. We're having some really great conversation during the break. And so what I like to call this part of the show is the meat of the show, the reason for the season. We get somebody to come in here. Sometimes it's virtual, but I really love it when it's when it's live and in person, and I get to hang out with somebody again. So it's a blessing to me that I get to see you again. I said earlier to Crystal, our guest this evening, that I get around. I'm outside in this recovery thing. I feel like I know a lot of the community, but I don't know your crew, man. So in some way, I think I'm just asking if we can be friends. So I can get to know you and your posse, you know what I mean? But so anyways, Crystal, would it be possible for you to tell us what is life like today for Crystal? What's going on today? What's current life like?
So life is good.
Awesome.
I just got a salaried position job back. Back in January.
That's that external money right there. Let's do that. Let's do the outside love. It's good when the outside's good. You know what I'm saying? It's good.
So
no, congratulations.
First job ever that I'm actually on a salary. I have really good benefits, and
wow, what a blessing, man.
It's a company that I truly feel like I can see it being a career,
a future.
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
So that is, I feel very secure with my employment.
Awesome.
I've had a couple of different things happen with, my life. I'm just going to be honest. My husband went back to sober living. I had to move back in with my mom.
Right.
And life is still happening.
And
it sucks. But the best part is that, I still continue to work an honest program. And I still put effort into my recovery, and I still want to put effort into my recovery because I love my life today.
Yeah.
So.
No, that's great. I think that, I thank you for sharing that too, number one, okay? I think that's a real life scenario, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not all, it's not like, very few people stop and it's like forever rainbows. I mean, relapse, slip ups, revisiting places, that might look like a step backwards in your recovery. You know what I mean? The difficulties of a relationship and holding something down like that while both people are in recovery, that's real life.
Yeah.
And I'm really happy that, I'm unhappy that, the emotional thing, the emotional toil and whatever else comes in a negative way to you. But I really like that your husband is back into sober living, and that you, since you are our guest, are sober and still working a solid program through all your life struggles. That is, to me, an inspiring thing to hear, and it's a real life thing to hear.
Yeah,
so I appreciate
absolutely.
that. I appreciate that.
I mean, it's when I first got sober, I wasn't really, when you're in sober living, things might happen, but sober living is really like a safe haven. It's almost like you just have this bubble around you and you just feel safe there. And then, when you move out of sober living and you start really digging into life, you
the bubble's not there.
Yeah, you get to experience what life is like, and it's not always great. Sometimes it is hard.
That's a tough one. That's really difficult.
But yeah,
I mean, transition is real, man.
It is, and it's hard being with somebody that's also in recovery, but it's doable.
Yeah,
if you want it. But I work hard at my recovery. I'm not about to let nothing tear that down.
That's
I just
right.
Can't.
Wait, I have a question.
What's up?
Ask away.
I'm just
my co-host.
I'm just gonna pop up on the back of the seat every once in a while and ask a question. You said I work an honest program, and you're still working the program. Can you explain to somebody who might be ignorant to what that means? What is an honest program for you? What's that look like?
Okay, so first thing is definitely being vulnerable to taking suggestions and allowing somebody who you have no idea who they are. I mean, you might know whoever your sponsor is, but 9 times out of 10, if you choose somebody to be your sponsor, it's going to be somebody that you have no idea who they are. So first things first, you have to be vulnerable enough to knowing that this person has your best interest at heart, what suggestions that they give you are going to be crucial to, helping you save your life. And then, obviously when you work through your steps, you have to be thorough and honest. Like, you have to be honest with yourself to then be honest with, your sponsor to get through the steps. Once you do that, the way that you continue to work an honest program is to continue to do your nightly inventory, continue to, be vulnerable when things crop up that you might not necessarily want anybody to know. You've got to, things
that hurt you, things that embarrass you.
Yes.
Those types of things.
Yeah. My sponsor, she hears it all.
Yeah.
Everything. And that's because I've built that relationship with her where I can trust her. I know that what I tell her is not going to go outside of what she and I talk about. And that's, that's the biggest thing, is being able to be that vulnerable and that raw with somebody who is going to say, hey, you're in the wrong. 9 times out of 10, I am the one in the wrong, but it's a godsend to be able to have somebody that I love. Cause now, it's not just a friendship with her. Like, she is, my sister, and she is somebody that I love, you know what I mean? Like, she knows every bit of my life, and I am so grateful for her. But continuing to work an honest program, like, I have to show up. I have to go to meetings. I have to, check in. If I'm having a bad day, like, I speak on it.
Yeah.
If I can relate to a topic, I'm going to share in a meeting, because, there's so many times where it's not even me sharing, it's God sharing through me.
Wow.
And it touches so many people's lives. And, people will come up to me after a meeting, I'll share. And 9 times out of 10, if it's something that God is sharing through me, I don't even remember what I say because it wasn't me speaking. And so those are the nights where I have people come up to me and they're like, oh, I related to that so much, or I loved this part of it. And I'm just like, I don't like.
Wait, so you don't sit around the whole meeting despising what you're going to share?
Whatever that you get the topic, whatever anybody else is saying, you ain't hearing nothing. You just gearing up for the ultimate share, baby. You don't hear nothing in it. Let me get the timing right. Okay, I'm gonna drop this when there's 20 minutes left.
Yes, I always wait till there's about 7 minutes left, and I'm like, all right. And then I always say, I'm Christian, and I'm more sober than everybody here, and
I was
how you really do it.
I was a worse addict than all you guys were at one time. Just make sure you guys know that. Okay. Now let me drop this jewel on you. No, that's great. I mean, I think. Saying that God was, you don't even remember it. I think there's something like the meaning, the reason for that is for that right there. It's one thing to fellowship. I don't know how much we should be. Well, I'm just going to say there's a reason for fellowshipping there in that moment, in that meeting. You know what I mean? But like, it's beyond that.
Right.
I think is where the meat is. I think that's where friendships are formed, and for you to say that, how close your relationship is with your sponsor. I mean, what kind of blessing is that? I always say, I have people that I love, that I have great friendships with, right? That are rich, that are meaningful, that I care. There's real love there, but there's very few that I'm sharing everything. I have an obligation to give you what's going on with me. And then you have this obligation to give me honest feedback back. It's like, I don't think there's a healthier format for a friendship than that, because it's a structure that allows for vulnerability, rigorous honesty, accountability. Not just, I love you so much, let's go watch TV. You know what I mean? Like, you coming over tonight? And it's still fruitful. That relationship is fruitful, but it does not have the meaning and the essence of two people being totally 100% honest, right, and having the obligation to listen to each other.
So I have like 3. I'm sorry, I keep popping in. Crystal's story is never going to get over.
I know, right?
Okay, but I love this. So I have like somebody I call who I know is just going to back me up. Yeah.
Like back up your BS.
F that crap, dude. Yeah, that's not cool. And then I got like the people who are going to give me sympathy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's really hard, you know. And then it's like the last person on that list is the sponsor, you know. It's the one that I know is going to say, call me on my crap.
Oh, you really think that's going to work? Oh, cool. Or just blow off that steam a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, that your steam.
Just bring me back, humble me back down to the ground.
And it's real, you know, and it's all done out of like, you know, if it's authentic and real and it's working within the guidelines of this spiritual program, it's all about God and love ultimately.
Right.
It's not even about you, man. You know what I'm saying? For real. It's about whatever else is going on and how you can have like an honest, fruitful input into that. So that's awesome. Now that we went on that tangent, that important tangent, I know that you're working a program now. You just explained to us what it means to work an honest program, right? And you're living life right now on life's terms, you know, and doing your best. You know what I mean? And there's a reason why recovery and sobriety is important to you. And I imagine it's because of what happened, what you experienced in a life of addiction and what you went through in addiction. And if you would, please, you start wherever you feel it's relevant and to give us some backstory on what led you to this working a good program today.
Okay. So I'm just going to touch on like my childhood. I grew up in Woodstock, Georgia. My mom has had the same house my whole life, still lives there. Yeah. I was a cheerleader for 12 years. I had a really good childhood. Mm-hmm. The only thing that really traumatic happened was that my dad passed away when I was 10 from lung cancer. Mm-hmm. And then when that happened, you know, my mom felt like she needed to make up for that. So she tried to overcompensate.
Yeah.
And it was just like, let's just give Crystal everything that she wants type of thing. Which it wasn't necessarily an issue, but that's just what happened.
Yeah. Well, if you're on the receiving end of a overcompensating mom, it's kind of like, I mean, you get it. You're getting of the output of somebody overly trying to be your mom and dad.
Well, and it wasn't necessarily she didn't overdo it, but in certain aspects, it's like she felt like, you know, she just had so much sympathy for me because of, you know, my dad passing away. Yeah. Now, don't get me wrong. She still taught me right from wrong. Mm-hmm. My mom is a very, very strong woman. I don't know if she's watching this, but I love you.
Love you, Mom.
Yeah, she is.
I get it.
She's solid in every aspect of her life, and you know, she tried to instill all of that stuff into me. And you know, so fast forward a couple of years, I'm 13. I go into middle school, and I meet this guy, start dating him, and he introduces me to, you know, smoking pot, taking Xanax, and just whatever. So I start doing these things with him, and like it just one thing became another, and I was soon popping beans and, you know, snorting coke and all kinds of stuff.
Fast.
Yeah, like soon. Yeah. I mean, by the time I was 15, I had done like every drug pretty much. And so
can I ask a question real quick within that? So, you know, you do have I don't want to downplay at all how traumatic it would be to lose your father at 10 years old. I can only imagine that, because that's a very vulnerable age. Right. You know, it's like you don't know much and you're trying to learn everything. Everything has this like a depth of influence on you.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, but at the same time, you know, of course, you're saying, you know, how cool your mom is, and she was like raising you to know right and wrong. Okay. So what do you think, when you look back at that time, what do you think drove you into like just diving into a lifestyle of like drugs and alcohol that deeply, that fast?
I don't think it was anything other than influence.
Your surroundings.
Yes.
The importance of like, you love your boy. I love this guy.
Right. Well, and I was with him on and off for like 5 years.
Yeah.
So all the way till I was almost a senior. And he and I went through absolute hell and back. I mean, but at that age, it wasn't an addiction at that point. It was just like
a lifestyle.
Let's just get high. Yes, it was always a party. And you know, the friends that I had, like, we always partied. That's just what we did. But the thing is I lived a double life. So my mom had really no idea. Like, she had caught on by the time that I was 15 or 16, that I was like smoking pot, but it was way more than that. And, you know, she would try to drug test me because she's like, you're not driving my car on my insurance if you can't even
you get high, you're not driving a car.
Yeah, so
you're drinking, you can't pass a urine.
She just thought it was, you know, me smoking pot or whatever. So I always had good grades. I graduated early, a semester early, but I lived a double life, dude. And it was like, to my mom, I was just an average teenager. Like, I might have gotten a little bit of trouble, but it wasn't anything drastic. But then when I was out with my friends, it was like
balls to the wall.
Right,
you're getting it.
Crazy. Yes. Yeah. And I mean, just insanity. Okay. Right. So then I graduate high school, and it's still like, it still wasn't addiction then. It wasn't ever like a problem. It wasn't like a...
Well, you're thriving in school still. You graduate.
Right.
So there is aspects of your life. If I didn't know, if I knew just the other side of you, I would say, oh, look at this girl. She's thriving, cheerleading, you know, got a boyfriend. She's popular probably, having fun. She probably always has like a fun attitude or a badass attitude or something about you is like where your lifestyle is like complimenting who you are as a person at that time.
Well, you know, to like parents and stuff, I was, you know, polite and, but
you know how to play the game easily then, right?
Bad.
Yeah.
Bad. Like, and the thing is I was so mean to people. Like, I was that mean chick. Like, they would beat your ass, and just you weren't gonna touch me.
Right,
you know what I mean? Like, I'm gonna do what I want to do, and that's just what it is. Like, I just had that badass, you know.
What a great thing to have, but you're in high school though.
Yeah.
Like the badass girl or guy, they're the shit in high school, right?
Yeah.
They're like, oh, here she comes. Hey.
Yeah, pretty much.
Her.
Yeah. But the thing is like, kids knew like that I was a junkie pretty much. I mean, I was a partier. I mean, that's just, there wasn't a, so I went from regular high school to night school because that's what all my friends did, and I wanted to still be in school with them. So I went from Woodstock to Polaris, and there wasn't one day that I didn't go to school like completely just toasted. I mean, I had my social studies teacher, I can't remember his name, but the whole year he told every one of his students, I don't care what you do all year, the only thing that I ask of you is for you to pass your midterm, okay? Or the final or whatever.
Yeah.
I go in there to take my final, and I am rolling balls. I can't even take the final. I can't. My head was hurting so bad, I had to lay across a couple of chairs, and I'm just sitting. You know, I had an A in his class, and he's like, what is going on with you? I'm like, I can't do this right now. So, you know, that's, you know, at that point in my life, that's where things were like progressively getting worse because
you missed the final. You missed that mark. That you're definitely seeing.
Well, I didn't miss something. It. I was there, but I couldn't take it because I was too. You know, important things were starting to become not a priority to me, and that's where it really started. Was, you know, the end of my, you know, high school years, and so I get out of high school and I meet, you know, my baby daddy. He wasn't my baby daddy at the time, obviously, but I meet him.
But the relationship with the boyfriend during. That got you.
He ended up.
See you later.
He ended up robbing me, and I finally
Snake.
it was like, okay, we're gonna part ways. So, he only stole $20 from me, but I took that as a really offensive. Like it was my last $20, and you're gonna take it while I'm sleeping. No, that's a problem. So,
but did he take it and then try to help you find it?
No, he took it and left. And when I woke up, he wasn't there, and one of his homeboys was like, "Oh, he took your money."
Oh.
So I'm like, okay. And he was a drug addict. So it's like, okay, 2 + 2 = 4. So anyways, I meet my child's father through him though. And he was I was 18. He's 6 years older than me. So he was 24, but he was like a badass. You know what I mean? Like covered in tattoos. Like he was the dope man. And it was just,
yeah, that's me.
He was like the coolest
Dope
thing.
man,
You know
dope
what I
man.
mean?
Yeah.
Like,
oh yeah,
holy shit.
I see it. I see
like
it. Yeah.
everything. So boy, he was trouble too. So I was with him not very long. I ended up getting pregnant, ended up having my daughter. When I found out I was pregnant, I quit smoking cigarettes, quit smoking pot, quit doing all drugs. Like I was completely clean.
Mm-hmm.
I found out I was pregnant at like a month, and that's because I was like, let's have a baby. So I was planning it.
Yeah. So you were watching for it. So you
yeah.
knew,
So as soon as I
exactly.
didn't have a period, I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm pregnant, whatever.
Right.
So I stayed clean that whole time. Well, then 3 months after she's born, me and my baby daddy, we start doing pain pills again. I don't even know how it ended up happening, but here we are snorting pain pills. Well, I had never used a needle for anything at that point. None of my friends would ever give me a needle. They all used needles, but none of the guys would ever give it to me. So I told him
You don't want this as like one of those, what do you call it?
yeah, he's like,
You don't want none of this, do we?
Yeah, Dewey. That's a Dewey thing.
well, he's like, if he's like, I'm going to do it this way, but you're not. And I'm like, bullshit. Like, no, if you're doing it, I'm doing it too.
Yeah.
That was a wrap for me. That begun a long 3-year span of shooting heroin and dying and overdosing and, trying to commit suicide at one point. And it was terrible. I mean, what
a shift. I mean, even though you're partying in high school and all that, right? But what a shift to like all of a sudden you're ODing after, and a baby, like so fast, like a blink of an eye, everything is upside down, man.
Well, not only that, and but heroin, you physically have to have it. So once you become
Sick.
yes, dude. And it was just, oh my God, I used to just pray and pray and pray, like, God, just please get me off of this stuff. Like, please take this away from me, because I hated it.
Yeah.
I mean, it was miserable. Like at first it was great. You know what I mean? Like anything is okay. This is cool. Like I love this.
Are you still able to live like the double life that you lived earlier though? Or,
yeah.
Or you're still doing it? Yeah.
But so I did. I lived it. I held a job and all that stuff, but I totaled 3 cars in like 4 months. And that was when, things started, just important things and, decisions that I would make. Like I would, get really messed up and then try to drive to work. And I ended up getting fired from one of my jobs because this lady that was there, I had like borrowed some money from her and never paid it back. And she went and told the bosses that, I was strung out on heroin. And I used to always wear a long sleeve shirt underneath my, my work shirt.
Yeah.
And I remember they pulled me into the cooler. It was at a restaurant. They pulled me into the cooler and they were like, can you pull up your sleeves? And I was like, no. What do you need me to pull up my sleeves for? And they explained to me, like, she came to us, she told us this, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, you guys are so full of shit. I don't do drugs.
Yeah.
And they're like, listen, like, we are willing to help you. We are willing to, put you through treatment. Like, company that this restaurant had just opened, and it was like,
that's very rare that a restaurant would like offer that to you. That's
and I don't,
wild.
but see, the thing is I don't know if it was like the restaurant offering it or if it was like the person offering it.
Oh,
like,
okay.
What? I didn't stick around for them for me to figure it out.
Yeah.
I was freaked out that somebody else could see the destruction that my life was.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't need help. I don't do drugs. And I went and got my stuff and I left. Never went back. So, it just became a continuous, like, I was still living a double life, but there was one time where at this point I never really had stole from anybody. It wasn't, I just didn't have it in me, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But once, my addiction got to a certain point, and my mom and my stepdad were out of town. Me and my baby daddy, we went to her house, and we started looking around, and there was a room in the basement that was locked. Well, he took his card and popped it open. We're on Xanax and heroin, and just completely oblivious to what's going on around us. And it was like his hunting license, so it had his name and stuff on it. Well, we find like this coin collection and completely take everything. We didn't take everything, but we took mostly everything.
Yeah.
I mean, enough to ruin the collection because he only had bits and pieces left. It was my stepdad's collection. And he left the hunting license on the floor. So we locked the door back and, leave. And when my mom comes back from out of town, she goes to go in there and she finds his hunting license on the floor. So she calls me and she's like, Crystal, what is going on? I break down and I tell her, I'm like, listen, I'm really addicted to heroin. I can't believe I did that. Like, I really need help. So that was like the first time that, I just broke down to my mom and was like, I really need help. Like, this is serious.
It hit her totally out of left field. She didn't know, like.
So she had an idea.
Yeah.
Because she used to she still would try to drug test me randomly.
Oh, yeah.
And
I'm 25, Mom.
No, because you got to think, I'm still only, like, by this point, I'm probably 20 or 21.
Yeah.
So
they still got that. There's something.
Yeah, and so
still very young.
She knew something because there was one time, oh my God, this is so embarrassing, but I have to tell it. So there was one time, like, my daughter and my nephew, they're like 3 months apart. And, when they're potty training, they have like their own little toilet. So my mom, because I had done everything, scooped up the toilet water to use it, all kinds of stuff. So she just, she's like, you need to sit on their toilet. So I know that you can't scoop anything out. So I'm sitting on this little bitty, like baby potty, right? And I'm just, I can't even, nodded out, completely just flopped over. And she's like, what is wrong with you? I'm like, nothing, I'm just tired. She's like, no, I'm not stupid. Like, this is where I'm going to draw the line. So she had an idea, like, I never.
Something was happening, but you never fessed up or anything like that.
Yeah, till the one day that she called me and I was like, I remember I sat in my child's father's closet on the floor and I just cried and was like, I really need help. So I went to rehab for the first time, and I went to Peachford to detox because by this point I had a pretty good job, and my job, nobody at my job had any idea, like none of them. And I can remember I was sick as a dog, and I was at my desk and I was just crying, and I had told my mom, like, I need help probably the night or two before, and so I'm sitting there crying, and one of the ladies comes up to me and she's like, what's wrong? And I'm like, dude, I'm a heroin addict and I need help. Like, I need to go to rehab so bad. And she's like, are you serious? Because, when you tell somebody that is not,
they're like, what?
They're like
shocked.
What?
Yeah. Don't even know what to say back. Yeah.
Right. So they end up talking to the boss, and they all vouched to hold my job. So I go to Peachford, and then I go to this rehab called Breakthrough Recovery. So by this point, like, I am a huge manipulator because I'm so used to living that double life that
you've lived it your whole life. So
my whole life.
You know what to do.
So when I get in this rehab, once I get like that, past that like sickness stage and I can start thinking again, I'm like, I know exactly what I have to do to get out of here. So I fool these people, and I have everybody thinking that, like, I'm giving them all the answers that they want to hear. I'm doing everything
shining.
Like, yes.
But are you fooling them to get out to get high? Are you fooling? Oh, okay. You wanted to get high.
Yeah. So, I I just wanted, well, let's be honest. When I got caught stealing from my stepdad, that was like my surrender. Like, this is my excuse of why I did it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I need help. I didn't really want the help.
Right.
But I knew that was going to keep me from, because my stepdad wanted to press charges.
Oh.
And I mean, we got like thousands of dollars from these coin collections.
Yeah.
So, you know, we would have went to jail. And I had never been in any legal trouble. My mom begged my stepdad not to. And, you know, my stepdad, he's an alcoholic. So he had I don't know. I don't know why he didn't press charges, but I think it was because my mom begged him not to. And I think she honestly paid him for the coin collection out of her pocket. So I didn't want to get clean. I mean, you know how you have that tuggle, like you have the days where you're like, Lord, just please help me get out of this. And then you know, you still have that devil on your shoulder that just keeps driving you. Mm-hmm. That's what it was. So I met this guy in Peachford. Oh my God. My life was just crazy. I met this dude in Peachford. The day that I get out, I go hook up with him, and we go and we get some more heroin. Boom, off to the races I go again. And from that point, I just spit everywhere. From that point to, I don't even know. It's all a blur, honestly. Yeah. I know that I continued to use heroin, and I know that my life was just crazy.
So what happened? So during that blur, when's the next time?
Can we just say that there's no such thing as good psych ward sock love?
Oh, no. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
If two people both have psych ward socks on, it's probably not going to work out very well.
Rehab romance.
Right. Well, you know, not too long after, he actually overdosed and died. And it was sad. We weren't together when that happened, but it's always heartbreaking when that happens. But yeah, I mean,
well, look at it, and that's like, you know, thanks for taking us down from my really good joke. But, I saw something that it's like every 11 minutes someone dies of an opioid overdose.
I wouldn't doubt it.
You know.
Yeah.
And I don't know what year this was when you were going, you know, through that, but it's, you know, it's insane how the opioid crisis is just really ravaging, and the numbers are, it's like anytime you share the number, it's like, you know,
it's like not believable.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You have to be in that.
It's like over 100 people a day. Or something.
Easy.
It's crazy. So this was before like fentanyl was ever
killing
like
everybody,
just knocking everybody out left and right. Now, don't get me wrong. Like, I still overdose all the time. My child's father would just throw me in a cold bathtub, and I'd wake up hours later, and it was just, that was the Narcan. You know what I mean? Like that was, I don't know. It somehow revived me every time. But needless to say, my life was a blur for a long, long time. And I ended up, you know, DFACS got involved, obviously, and I lost custody of my daughter. And
I would imagine since the reveal is out now, it's like you're very limited, especially to your support people, on how you know, even if you're shining on one end of things, after you tell your mom and you steal from her and everything like that, like, you're suspect,
right?
So there has to be, you know, somebody. So you're losing something in there,
right?
As far as like, you know, your ability to kind of maneuver and sneak around, you know.
Yeah,
so it's only normal that if you're a mom and if these bridges are burned and people are knowing, DFACS is coming.
Yeah. Well, there was no sneaking around at this point. I mean, I was just a straight junkie, and I was willing to do anything and everything, you know, to not be sick.
Yeah.
And how desperate you get when you're sick is just, it's mind blowing.
Hey.
And a lot of people don't realize how bad it is until, you know, you're in it and going through it. But I don't know. I don't even know how long of years go by that were just a blur, but I don't even know why they're a blur, to be honest with you. But somewhere in that, time period, I ended up getting off of heroin, and I honestly could not tell you how I did it. No idea, to be honest with you.
No recollection of it.
None. The only thing that I do know is that I started going to the How place, and I got a sponsor.
Oh, okay.
But it didn't last very long.
Yeah.
And then the next, thing that I can really remember is, I started using meth. And that whole road is just chaos too. So,
well, that's like the ghetto rehab. To get off of opiates, just get on some meth, right?
Yeah. One time I remember I got pneumonia, right, in both of my lungs. I went to a detox. My withdrawal was so bad I had pneumonia in both of my lungs. So, and I left AMA with this pneumonia, right? So I was like, all right, I'm just gonna smoke rock. I ain't gonna do dope, because I know if I withdraw from dope, you know what I mean, I'm gonna. Yeah. It's gonna kill me because I got this pneumonia. But if I smoke crack. Yeah. That's right. That's what I'm gonna do. That's the smart thing.
That's crazy that you say that, because that reminds me, every time that I would try to get off heroin, I would end up in the hospital with really, really bad bronchitis, to the point where I could not breathe.
Yeah.
And that's how my mom and my whole family would know that I was back getting high, because I would get really, really, really sick.
Yeah.
Not like dope sick, but like
sick,
can't breathe, like having to go to the hospital, about to die because my lungs, and my mom's like, your lungs are terrible. Like, I don't know how you're ever going to survive this. Cause my dad died of lung cancer.
Oh yeah.
My aunt and stuff hadn't died at this point, but she had like COPD really bad. And, she had like a breathing treatment that she had to do every day. And, my grandparents both had lung issues. So lung issues were just hereditary.
Right.
So when I would be trying to get off drugs, heroin, and I would get really sick, my mom's like, I don't know why you do this to yourself. So anyways, I somehow start doing meth. I don't know. I get off heroin though. And that alone was a godsend, because I knew in the back of my mind that that's how I was going to die. I knew I was going to die of an overdose. And honestly, I was okay with it. I mean, that's what I knew. I was just like, this is my life. I can't get away from it. So this is how I'm going to die.
Yeah.
And
there's some sort of like dark acceptance in that whole process.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
I mean, I tried so many times to get clean, and it was just like, it was like the devil just, oh man, he just works his way back in,
That's what it is.
So I end up starting to do meth, and I meet this this other guy that, oh my God, this guy was Lord.
Badder than the last bad guy?
The worst.
The worst.
I mean, but we were toxic for each other.
Yeah.
It wasn't just him, it was me as well. And
is it safe to say you like you like bad boys?
I do.
Yeah.
I mean, look at who my husband is. Come on now. So, yeah, I mean, we were, and I'm very codependent. That's something that I have learned in recovery, that it's always been a huge part in my life. And
well, that's something that could probably, and I'm just pontificating, but I could see the reasoning, losing your father at such a young age.
Yeah. I think,
that could probably factor into that whole thing.
Yep. Yeah. I definitely agree with you on that. But, so this guy, we were together for, 3 years, and it was the worst 3 years of my life. It was so abusive, physically. And this was my first relationship that was physically abusive. But the thing is you remember how I told you I used to be that badass, right?
Yeah.
So he got a taste of me being that badass, because let me tell you, if you put your hands on me, I'm going to put my hands back on you.
It's on.
So it was a constant battle. I mean,
so you guys are fighting each other
literally.
Yeah.
I mean, toe to toe, like
yeah.
But and honestly, I got a huge thrill out of it. Like I loved it. That's
if you're doing a stimulant, like getting in a good fight will raise that adrenaline right where it needs to be,
so,
man. That's real.
This relationship was so toxic, but I was so in love with him that like he would isolate me from everybody, and it was, I mean, we drug each other through the mud because I don't, like, you see, it just blows my, like, I don't even have words to describe it because of how unhealthy it is. The only thing that I can tell you is that it was the worst.
Well, I mean, like, America just watched, you know, with the Amber Heard and Johnny Depp, and my wife has been obsessed with it. And I'm like, that just sounds like two addicts having a
exactly what it is, man. That's exactly
relationship.
That's all that.
And every time they would play those recordings, I'm like, ugh.
I couldn't watch.
I don't want to hear that because it brings back like
all
that emotional energy when you're getting high and you're halfway high and you're coming down, and the way the two, you know, so like what you're describing, like, and I think that's the thing is like, I think people are watching that trial and that relationship, and it's being put on such like a display, right? Like it's almost a freaking cartoon, you know?
Right. Yeah. It is.
But the reality is that's what addicts, when they're together and both using, that's
exactly what it is. I mean, that is it.
Yes. Leslie and I, for a long time,
it doesn't even look
we were
real.
That dysfunctional.
It looks like a show.
Yeah.
Right. That
it
you're
is,
watching because their actions and what's being thrown back and forth is like, what the hell? These people are crazy. But this has to be an act.
Or you're trying to blame who was more wrong, who was more right. And it's like, well, the whole thing was just jacked up.
Right.
Right. And
And what's crazy though is, and when you're caught in that moment, nobody can tell you nothing. You know what I mean? Like outsiders can look at it and be like, this is terrible. Anybody that was ever around us, it was like we would run them off in a heartbeat because as soon as we start putting our hands on each other, people know shit's about to get serious. I mean, so I'm gonna the two of the most, you know, that stand out to me the most instances. So you know, like a car jack, that like the big ones that have like the four wheels that weigh, that are like really heavy. Well, then you know the handle that comes out.
Yeah.
So we were going back and forth at this person's trailer, and it was, he hid my purse, and I had already packed up my whole car. I was ready to leave. Like I was trying to go. Right. Well, he took my purse and he hid it in this bush, like trailers down. And I couldn't find it. I had no idea where it was, you know, like it's just the midst of chaos. And I pick up the handle because I had the floor jack in the back of my car. And I just storm at him and I swing at his head. I was trying to kill him. And he ended up, you know, throwing his elbow up like this to block it, and it shattered his entire elbow. And I mean, to this day, I'm sure if he hits his elbow the wrong way, he remembers it. And, you know, for years after that, he would always tell me, like, every time I hit my elbow in the wrong place, he's like, all I can say is, I hate you, bitch, because it hurts. Not only does it hurt, but it's like that whole flashback just probably has to come back.
Tremendously toxic, violent, all that. All that stuff, right? So, and you're both using meth, right? You're both
everything,
at it.
Yeah, so, not heroin, but everything else. Yeah.
But it was like uppers driven type of
that and Xanax.
Thing.
Yeah.
Oh, come right down.
Yeah.
Well, I know what you're talking about. Okay, so you know, why don't we get to like the place where you see when are you like, man, this is bad, like I cannot do this anymore, like what happens?
Okay, so I ended up being homeless by choice because he had isolated me so bad, and I was so embarrassed and, you know, felt so much shame. I wouldn't go around my family. So, you know, my mom.
You're gone from them now.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
And no communication, hardly ever unless I needed something.
If you don't mind me asking, where's the kids with mom or?
So my daughter was with her dad's parents.
Okay.
And she's been there, the whole time.
Yeah, okay.
So I keep going in and out of like, oh, I need help. So, I went out to Rome to go to rehab and, I got sick and tired of being sick and tired, but I ended up getting away from that guy and
through what? Through like going to recovery places, like going to rehab, detox, or just like see you later, dude? Like how did that separation?
I went to rehab when he and I were still together and, he walked, I walked and he walked. And when I was on my way, like leaving to go to rehab, he's trying to stop me and it was chaotic, but I ended up going to rehab. But then when I'd come home on the weekends, he would be the person that I would go and, be with. And so it was just bad. And just through time, we just kind of faded. I mean, I don't really remember. Oh, he robbed me too. But he robbed me of like a lot more, like all my drugs. So
and $50. No, he robbed you.
All my drugs. And like we were in a hotel and the hotel was up that morning. I woke up that morning and I had nothing. He took everything and dipped. And that's really what just put
betrayal at its best right there, especially when you're living like that. But
that's the type of stuff we did. Like it was me screwing him over and then him screwing me over. But
I know that so well, dude.
Chaos. So I end up getting away from him. So at this point, like, I'm like, shit, I'm homeless. I'm not going back to my mom's because I'm, too shameful. And I'm just like, I'm like, I'm going to have to start selling drugs. So I do. I start selling dope. And I was good at it. And I made money to survive, made money to always be in hotels, just got
living
by
that
or whatever.
Lifestyle, getting high and selling,
So at this point, like, I'm not even really having to get high anymore because I become addicted to selling dope. And so,
lifestyle change,
yes. And the
That's
fast
a big
money.
addiction.
Yes. The fast money, people always calling your phone, always being like, feeling
hustling.
like, yes. So, I do that for probably, I don't know, like a year and a half or 2 years, not very long, but, I was hanging out with this guy and we were in this hotel room that I had, so my dope man at the time, I owed him money for the front that he gave me, right? So he was like, listen, instead of paying me back, I need you to go put this girl up in a hotel room so she can go to work. I'm like, okay. So I go get her a nice hotel room. She had just gotten out of jail, so she had nothing. I take her shopping, blah, blah, blah. So we get to this hotel room. She don't do no work. Like, she just sits around.
Chilling.
She's doing my drugs, all kinds of stuff. And so later on, like, it's probably like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning by this point. And I'm like, girl, you got to go. Like, I'm trying to get laid. Like, you got to go. So she gets pissed off because I pretty much kick her out of the hotel room because she wasn't doing anything. Like, how are you going to explain this to him? So she goes down to the front desk and tells the front desk that there's people in the room trying to commit suicide by overdosing on heroin. So they call the cops. And I'm like, by this point, I had eaten so many Xanax. I had no idea what was going on. I don't even remember the cops coming up and knocking on the door, let alone me answering the door. None of that.
Yeah.
Me and the dude end up going to jail for trafficking and all kinds of stuff. And I wake up in jail like 3 days later, maybe 2. I don't know. I don't remember going to jail. I don't remember. Like, this is my first time going to jail. I'm like 27.
Them benzos black you out hard, don't they?
Especially when you take like 10 or 15 of them. Yeah. Oh my God.
You're
so
like a blackout.
Gone. I have no recollection of it. So I wake up in medical in Cobb County and I'm like, why the hell am I here? Crazy enough, one of the girls, the girlfriend of my very first boyfriend that got me into all the partying scene, she's in medical with me. And she's like, girl, look in your pocket, like the warrant's in your pocket. So I open it and I see like trafficking and possession of diazepam.
And you're coming out of a blackout.
And I'm like, oh my God. So I'm like,
Like
what?
a scene out of a movie.
Yeah,
It's
that's
crazy,
heavy, man.
It's absolutely crazy. So, with trafficking, you don't get a bond at first. So I sat in there for like 19 days. And then my mom had hired a lawyer and she was, the lawyer pushed for me to get a bond, and I ended up getting a bond, and I bonded out. Well, the guy that went to jail with me, he was on probation at the time when we got arrested. So he was in there on a probation violation. Mm-hmm. So like when I get out of jail, I'm on pretrial, and I'm like, I do not want to go back to jail. Like I sat in there for 19 days, which isn't that, I mean, it's nothing compared to what most people sit in there, but like jail's not for me. It's lame in there. Like it stinks. The food's cool. Not good. Yeah. I can't stand the bitches in there. So I'm just like, this ain't working for me. So I stay clean. Like I get plugged in, and I really start to build a network. And
so you think not going back to prison was a big motivator for you try to tighten this stuff up?
Well, yeah, I'm like,
and you got charges resting on your back too, right?
Well, not only that, but I got trafficking charges, and I'm like, it's not just a little possession charge. Like deal. I'm gonna have either now probably just get time served and probably 10 years of papers, but still, like that's 10 years of my life that I'm gonna have to be owned by the state, and I'm just like, So I get plugged in, and I really get a taste of what recovery is like. I build like a solid network, and my life just completely changed in that 6 months. Now, however, 6 months goes by, and this guy that's in jail on these same charges takes all of the charges. So I get exonerated from the case completely. And, I end up a couple weeks later, I end up going and relapsing. And I was only out.
Nothing's on your chest now. It's like you're free.
Well,
what do you do with that?
Right. But I was only out there for about 3 months, and it wasn't the same. I was miserable.
So recovery ruined your high.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. But
I like that.
Yeah.
I ended up meeting my husband on that last little 3 month run, and I hated being out in the streets. Like he didn't have anywhere to live, and it was chaotic. So I was like, you need to go to sober living. And he's like, you need to go to sober living with me. So I'm like, okay. So we went to sober living together. And then that is what started my.
Oh, you meet him like in this 3 month run.
Yeah. Out in the streets.
And then you meet each other on the street, and you're like, all right, let's go get clean. That type.
Yep.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yep. So then, we go to sober living, and that's what started my journey a little over 2 years ago.
Wow.
It's crazy.
What a ride, man.
Yeah.
Right? What do you think about that, dude?
Yeah, it's wild.
It's a lot.
I like how she said she hated those bitches in jail.
I hated those bitches.
Crystal just became my best friend in this whole interview.
This shit sucks in here. I ain't with it.
Food no good. I'm like, oh yeah.
Well, but the thing is I knew, so I had such a bad name in the streets. You know what I mean? Like with guys, I was cool. Yeah. But like with the females, like I didn't like females.
Yeah.
And, a lot of times I robbed everybody, especially if I was eating Xanax. I'm taking all your shit.
Dude, man, that stuff makes you still like crazy. I don't know what it is about that stuff, man, because I'm not like that.
I'm not like that either.
Make you still, man.
Yeah.
It's weird.
So when I go in there, it's like I know everybody in God's creation in there, and I'm like, I can't do this.
Yeah. What do you think? What's interesting to me is, you had that case pending, and so that was like a motivator to get you into the rooms and start committed to it, right? But then it's like God did for you what you couldn't do for yourself, right? But what else, like aside from that God factor, what do you think it was during that time when you did dig in? Can you remember when the light like kind of went off, or when you kind of got a taste of what freedom could be?
So I think that it wasn't necessarily ever something internally that clicked at that point, because that didn't happen until, way later down the road. But I think that, I was always, going to recovery outings. I was engaging in, activities.
The fellowship
yes.
of it was really attractive.
I really was able to see, like, damn, I can
hang out with these folks.
With these
this
people.
This is my shit. Yeah, this is cool.
And it's fun. Yeah. And I'm sober. And, and not only that, but the people that I built my network with became family so quick, and like they just, you know, like just basically like swallow you in, you know what I mean? And it's like that feeling of feeling loved, and like when you walk up to a meeting and you've got everybody that's like, oh, what's up? Like that feeling of being, you know, wanted, or, you know, like being
belonging, accepted.
Yes, yeah. That's the same thing that I was addicted to when I started selling drugs, was because I just felt like everybody needed me, or I finally was like,
you're in an accepted place.
So when I felt that, being sober, I was like, damn, like this is a whole different
that's
ball
great
field.
Man, that is so valuable that you said that, because you know, I can think of myself in active addiction, and even thinking, like fathoming me living a sober life and what that what the assumptions were in my head of what that looks like. And it was like all my boy, like I'm gonna start, you know, if I stop getting high, how am I gonna party with all these important people in my life? Where my friends gonna be? Oh, what's life like, you know, being sober, not like having a drink, and like it's gonna be lame, basically. It's gonna be really lame. And am I on camera? Okay. People, that's the biggest misconception, dude. Life in recovery, man, dude, the friendships, the fellowship, the day-to-day living, the activities, the camaraderie, the fun, the acceptance, the love, all that shit is, I don't know a realer place to have those things in my life than in living a life of recovery. Know that. So you dudes that are on the fence, and you dudettes that are on the fence thinking that you're not going to have acceptance, or it's not going to be cool, or you're not going to have friends, it's not going to be real. The shit is the most authentic thing that I've ever experienced, is living a life of recovery.
Absolutely.
And that's what Crystal's talking about right now.
So let me tell you, specifically, when the little, you know, times here and there when I would try to get clean and I would get bored, you know what I mean? And I had nobody to reach out to. I didn't have a network at that time. So once I was able to dive in, and that's the most important thing, is when you first start, like when you first come into the rooms, as awkward as it is, dude, you've got to be like, hey, I'm new, I need some friends. Because here's the thing, if you can find some friends that you can really make friends, like, dude, you're going to have some awesome friendships. And it's like
so valuable, so meaningful, different level.
Yeah.
Well, you know, and that's like, because who wants to stand outside of a meeting and be like,
by yourself?
Hi, my name's Christian, and you want to give me your number?
It's a tough place to be. Yeah.
But what was ringing in my head is Ricky D. and the parties that he throws.
Oh, that's what was in my head
and the
too.
events, and it just kind of made me think about how important it is for those environments, those hangouts, those times when you can get together.
Shout out Ricky Davis.
Yeah,
yeah,
Let's do this. Let's run the Montana break. Yeah, and then we'll come back and wrap up.
Let's do that.
Because I don't know if you know it. It's midnight.
Yeah.
Montana Society.
We're running on this.
An inspiring docu-series about a group of addicts who endeavor to repurpose an underground nuclear bunker in Paradise Valley, Montana. Along the way, they learn to work together under the wild leadership of Dean, a financial guru and outdoorsman who has his money on the line. In the end, will they learn to repurpose their pain and the bunker into something new and wonderful? Find out on this season of the Montana Society.
Welcome back, folks. Welcome back. So I guess we're simmering down to the ending this episode, but it was so good. You know, thank you, Crystal. Thank you so much for coming back and putting it out there on the table like you are, and being vulnerable enough to sit in the seat of service and give the people an idea of what real life is like, life on life terms, what you're going through today, you know. And as we wrap this up, I want to, we usually ask a question, and it's usually around in assistance of what this is all about, which is the sick and suffering addict or somebody on the fence. And if you would, what would you give to a newcomer or somebody thinking about being a newcomer? What makes it worth it? What makes life worth it? What makes stop doing drugs? What do you tell the new person?
So, I think that, we can sit around and we can tell people all day long what life is like, what, it could be like. But what I've come to realize is, experiences and, the fellowship is really what pushes me today. So, I went on a recovery outing, a whitewater rafting trip that, how I said when I was in rehab in Rome, my sponsor out there, she is just still doing her thing out there, and she puts on these recovery events. And we went whitewater rafting back in May, and we had over 43 or 44 years of recovery between everybody that was there. And let me tell you, it put a light up under me, and it put some fire up under me. And it's like, I want to recover out loud. I want people to see me and to say, I want what she has. And so, I'm actually like, every month I'm going to put together a recovery outing. So like for newcomers, please join us. Find me on social media, on Facebook.
Let's go.
Plug it out. How do they follow you? How do you follow Crystal?
So you can, if you find me on Facebook, my first name is Crystal, Crystal. My last name is Bedford, Bedford, and you will see my middle name in there, which is Rose. Asked to be my friend, and our first recovery outing is actually coming up next weekend, the 11th. We're going, you can either do kayaking or tubing. It is at the Cartacay River Experience in East Ellijay.
Awesome.
Anybody is welcome to join. So
when is that?
June 11th. We're getting there at 10:45 in the morning.
It looks like we're floating down.
That sounds like
Do we got to bring our own tubes?
No, you can rent them. But if you want to bring your own tubes, then you can.
Okay. I got a pool out there that I just bought for $20. That'll float.
Yo, you was looking sharp in that thing too. Let me tell you that. You look comfortable.
As long as the shot's from here. Yeah. If once you get the nipples in the shot, then you realize how big I am, and you're like, oh yeah, the sex appeal's gone.
No.
But that is that is something that I think God put me out there, and to be able to experience that, because that's something it has definitely given me inspiration, because I want people to see what it can be like sober. So it's if I can put together one event every month, and just,
I saw you already did one. I remember seeing that on social media. I posted it. Actually,
that's the one for next weekend.
Oh, is that what it is? Okay,
yeah.
Cool.
So
we'll have to share that and get that out there.
Yeah, every meeting that I go to, once I have the event planned, I'm sharing it everywhere that I can. And I already have July 9th, we're going to do a lake day. I'll, give you more details on that. So I want to kind of do maybe one be a paid where you obviously you have to rent a kayak or a tube. But then, I also want to do some that are free, so that, people that are just coming into recovery that might not have the funds, they can attend. When we go on the lake, I'm going to buy a bunch of meat, dude, feed everybody.
No doubt.
And I just, I want everybody to realize that recovery is freaking awesome, dude.
It is, man, dude. I'm telling you, so guys, I'm kind of reiterating the same thing that Crystal said earlier, but the fellowship, the importance of the network of and the therapeutic value of one addict helping another is so valuable. It's so deep. And it's so fun. You know what I mean? I just want to, I don't know if you know Ricky Davis, but I feel like, we got to the connection has got to be made, because that's what he does. That's his thing too. He sets up party events and like that. But it's all available, guys. It's all available. You know what I mean? All the fun, all that kind of stuff, all the cool stuff, all the friendships, all that good stuff is in recovery. So don't be tricked. Don't be duped, don't what do they call it? I'm trying to think of the.
Don't be bamboozled.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't be scallywagged.
Yeah.
Yeah, those things. Don't do that, guys. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you again, Crystal. Man, this is
Thank
freaking
you.
great. I know we
Yes.
went long, but guys, to me, it was so worth it. Thank you all for staying in tune. Thank everybody for supporting us. Please, if you have not downloaded the Most High app, please download it. Look it up on your Play Store or what is Apple App Store, your app, whatever that is. Most High Media. Check it out, man. It's a Netflix of recovery, all done by my homie right here, the creative genius and Reverend Christian Jansen. And we love you guys. Peace.